Okay, welcome back to another video. So, oh my gosh, my hair's a mess. I'm kind of self-conscious now that I think about it. I don't know how much better that is on camera, and it is cold today, so it kind of helps. So yeah, you probably read the title of this video. I actually don't know what I'm gonna title it yet, but one of the biggest videos that I have on this channel so far is actually kind of questioning whether or not matte varnish versus gloss varnish is the better option. And in that video, if I remember, it was a while ago when I made it, I kind of talked about like whether or not I would be using matte varnish versus glossy varnish. And since then, I've been using glossy varnish on my paintings. And what I really loved about that video, and even to this day, it still gets a lot of comments from people who are, more experienced and are also working artists as well. And a lot of people have been chiming in the comments in that video. And if you're one of them, thank you very much, because not only are you helping me as a emerging artist, but you're also helping people who will come across that video. And if you have any notes on this video as well, make sure you leave a comment below. But yeah, a lot of people recommended using satin varnish. And so I actually have that, Gamvar satin, but I also have this Gamvar gloss because this video, I wanted to compare the use of both of these varnishes on a couple paintings that I have. If you're new to the channel, first of all, welcome, please subscribe. You can support me by purchasing some of the prints that I have on my website. And also, if you would like, you can join my newsletter for a 50% discount on any of your orders as well. And just to get updates from me and my works, you get to hear directly from me if you join my newsletter. But anyway, I have a solo exhibition next week. Oh my gosh, that's not even gonna talk about that right now. So I got a bunch of paintings that I knew I needed to varnish. And so this was a great opportunity for me to finally test out this new satin varnish that I've been hearing about. And I have some thoughts. So glossy varnish was the varnish that I had chosen to be what I use on my paintings going forward. But after I tested out the satin, I kind of was thinking maybe, I don't know. And if you don't know what satin varnish is compared to like the glossy varnish, you can see that there's a visual difference already to it. And what is basically satin varnish, when you properly mix it up, is kind of an in-between between gloss and matte varnish. So you kind of have the color depth that you get when you varnish with the glossy one, but you have less of that reflectiveness that you get when you use the glossy varnish. So the satin option for you, or for me, is something that I was very much considering. And when I actually came out of testing it, I don't know, I was kind of like 50-50 on it. And let me explain a bit. So I had used this satin varnish on two of my paintings already, but I wanted to get another comparison. So my big piece that I've titled In Love With My Future is the piece that I tested it on. And disclaimer, I know that this was a bad idea, but I didn't ruin the painting. I half varnished it with the glossy varnish, and then I did the other half with the satin varnish. I knew that I wanted the glossy varnish on that painting anyway, so I'm just gonna, after this video, I'm gonna be finishing up and putting the rest of the glossy varnish on the satin half already when I'm ready to do that. Right now it is half glossy varnish and the other half is the satin varnish. And I kind of did that and I put it up on my wall just to kind of compare them in front of me. And I've also just over time, I've let like the sunrise, the sunset, use my indoor lights to kind of see the different lighting environments that I, was perceiving the painting in. And just to kind of get my own perspective on what the painting will look like with these two varnishes. And what I found kind of not fascinating, but interesting, I guess, is that I didn't like the look of satin very much. And there could be a couple of reasons for that. I am sort of new to, varnishing my paintings. So the technique that I am using could, just be less sufficient. But another thing that I've learned is that not to pour on the varnish as well. You kind of have to like get your brush and apply the varnish using your brush instead of pouring it on like they do in those aesthetic Instagram videos, which I kind of love. But even when I use that technique, the problems that I was still seeing was that like there were like areas of the satin varnish where it was like kind of spotty, even though it was like more even that I was able to apply it. You know, using multiple layers of varnish is something that I've heard more experienced artists say. And so I am still doing that, and I actually will be applying another layer, like I said, of glossy varnish. But even from the offset of me varnishing the painting, I noticed once it had dried, there was like still areas where like it was like more shiny or more glimmery. And then there are areas that were more, not only was the shine not there, but also the color depth of the saturation that comes from varnishing, it wasn't there either for me. I'm thinking to myself, I've reached a certain point in my artistic development where I am no longer looking for advice from other people. And the decisions I make are now artistic decisions. In other words, they are open to be subjective changes. Let me know if this does or doesn't make sense what I'm about to say, but I feel like varnish is one of those options for artists where you can still choose to use one or the other. The decision I made in my head before was that there's probably a varnish that is the correct varnish, right? But now what I'm realizing is that the type of varnish that I choose to use on my stuff is not like a choice of this is the correct varnish. This is the decision I'm making as an artist to get a certain look for my paintings. And so that's the ultimate decision I've come to by the end of this video, is that I actually prefer the look of the glossy varnish on my paintings. And it depends on the painting itself as well, because I find that the glossy varnish works on paintings that have, you know, more darks on the surface. The satin varnish that I have here works really well for the two paintings that I applied it fully on, my Flower Girl 3 painting and also my Morning Flowers painting. Both of those have a white background, and so the reflectiveness of the glossy varnish is, you know, more of a thing to worry about with those pieces, which is why I went with the satin on those in the first place. But going forward, I think I will be using the gloss varnish on, you know, more of my pieces that have those darker values to it, especially when most of like the background consists of dark areas, just so I know that when I use this varnish, it will be highlighting those key elements of the painting as best as I can, I guess. So yeah, the decision I've made is that I'll be using gloss varnish for darker paintings, and I'll be using satin varnish for lighter paintings. Let me know what you think about this decision that I've made, and let me know if you think that there is like a correct or incorrect option. So that part of like the decision making as an artist really fascinates me. Let me know if you have any other ideas or just general thoughts about decisions that you make as an artist as well, because that's something that I love hearing about, especially from other artists. I love learning from other artists, and as I've been growing the channel, I've learned a lot from, you know, not only people in my comment section, but also just other YouTube videos. I've never really wanted to be my own, you know, teacher online here on YouTube, but I definitely understand the significance of me putting out my own content here on the channel. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. Leave a recommendation on anything that you might want to see in the future, and I'll see you in the next video. I need to work on this commission that I have back here. Back here? I'm looking at my camera. There, I just use my non-dominant hand. I'm left-handed, by the way.